Many students assume that if they perform well during an internship or a working student job, they will automatically receive a full-time offer afterwards. But that's not what usually happens. In reality, internships and student jobs are career development opportunities, not hiring promises. That's why it's important to approach these experiences in a much more strategic way and focus on the right things. In this video, I will show you exactly how to use them to move your career forward and facilitate your entry into the job market later on. Welcome back to the International Career Service Rhein-Main channel. I'm Bastian Hughes, former recruiter and founder of Berufsoptimierer, a company focused on career development. Let's get started. How hiring actually works. If internships and working student jobs don't guarantee a full-time position, why do companies even offer them? They actually serve multiple purposes. Some companies may use them to get to know potential future talent, but the biggest advantage is that interns and working students help teams manage everyday workload, support ongoing projects, and add flexible capacity when teams are stretched. But as useful as these positions are, hiring decisions are much more complex. Human resources, top management, or even the Workers' Council may play a role in approving new positions. There are also structural factors like hiring budgets, headcount approvals, internal hiring rules, or simply timing. So even if a manager or a team would love to hire a student, they simply don't have the authority to create a new role. These internal processes are usually invisible from the outside. And if you don't know about them, it's easy to take the lack of a job offer as a personal failure. Even if internships and working student jobs don't lead straight to a full-time offer, you can still make them work for you. You just need to know where to find the real career opportunities. How the job market actually works. Here is where many students make their first strategic mistake. When choosing internships or working student jobs, they focus too much on large companies or famous brand names. This is understandable. Well-known employers look impressive on a CV, and many students assume that working for one will naturally improve their chances on the job market. But this also comes with a huge trade-off. Well-known companies attract an extremely large number of applicants. And even if they offer many intern and working student positions, there are only very limited entry-level jobs afterwards. Prestige increases competition and not necessarily your chances of securing a full-time job. And this becomes even clearer when you look at the overall structure of the German job market. Students often associate German employers with well-known names like Volkswagen, Siemens, SAP, or Deutsche Telekom. These companies are highly visible, internationally known, and often offer English-speaking roles. However, they actually account for less than 1% of all companies in Germany. It's small and medium-sized enterprises, known as SMEs or KMU in German, who represent around 99% of all companies. And they employ almost 60% of the German workforce. The German job market is dominated by smaller regional companies rather than large corporations. This should change how you think about career opportunities. If you only focus on large corporations, you are competing for very few opportunities in a very small part of the job market. But taking SMEs into account dramatically increases the number of opportunities available to you. SMEs also offer advantages that many students underestimate. You often get to work closer with the leadership, take on responsibility early on, and gain learning opportunities and practical experience faster. Hiring decisions can also be more flexible and personal, relying more on recommendations, personal connections, and professional networks. This makes the relationships you build during your studies even more valuable. When choosing internships or working student jobs, the goal isn't to chase prestige. It's to position yourself where the real opportunities are. But choosing the right type of company is only one part of the equation. How you gain experience and shape your trajectory matters just as much. Loyalty won't make you employable. The second strategic mistake many students make is spending most of their studies in one company. This happens quite often with working student jobs. A student finds a role they like, builds relationships in the team, and stays there for several years. From the student's perspective, this can feel like a smart decision. It creates stability, familiarity with the organization, and the feeling that staying longer will improve their chances of being hired later. But there's a hidden risk in staying too long in the same environment. Working in one company for several years can create deep knowledge of that specific organization and role, but it can also limit your exposure to different ways of working. One company represents one culture, one workflow, one management style, and one set of internal systems. Although this can signal stability, it can also limit your perceived adaptability. From a hiring perspective, a potential employer or recruiter will ask themselves, how well will this person adapt to a different environment, and how quickly will this person be able to contribute to our organization? Candidates who have already worked in different companies or teams have demonstrated adaptability and learning ability. This reduces uncertainty for employers. This is why early career experiences are so important. Exposure to different environments strengthens employability. Ideally, students should gain experience in at least 3 different work environments during their studies. This could mean internships and working student jobs in different companies, or alternating those with research projects, heavy positions, or voluntary work. What matters most is variety and exposure to real work environments. The goal here isn't to just collect random experiences. It's to build a professional portfolio that demonstrates adaptability, learning ability, and the capacity to integrate into new teams. So how should you choose the right experiences? Let's break it down. How to be strategic early on. The third strategic mistake many students and young professionals make is jumping from one job to another without a clear direction. You shouldn't aim for variety just for the sake of variety. The goal is to build experience intentionally and think about how each role contributes to your professional development. To stay intentional about your work experience, ask yourself a few simple questions before applying for or accepting a job. What does this role add to my profile? What can I learn here that I couldn't learn elsewhere? And how does this experience improve my next step? This kind of thinking will help you make more strategic decisions about your career even before you graduate. I give you a real-life example of how this works. Lana studied nutritional sciences. Like many students, she didn't have a clear job title in mind when she started her master's degree. So she started reflecting about her future career and asking herself, where can someone with my degree actually work? What does this field look like in practice? Which areas might fit me and which might not be for me? During her studies, she deliberately chose different practical experiences to explore those questions. She interned in a laboratory to understand analytical work. She worked in product development to see how ideas become real products, and she switched to quality management to learn about standards and regulations. She complemented these experiences with short trainings in quality management and project management. When she later applied for entry-level roles, she could already compare different environments, explain why she preferred structured processes over pure lab work, demonstrate adaptability, and show that she had successfully navigated different team cultures. Her trajectory is exactly what employers and recruiters look for in candidates. Not just a collection of random experiences, but a portfolio built with intention. Even if Lana still had to go through a normal job search after finishing her studies, her experiences weren't any less valuable. They provided the chance to gain real experience, understand the industry and the job market, and build professional relationships. And those relationships matter today more than ever. In a world where AI makes it easy to send dozens or even hundreds of applications in a short amount of time, it's becoming harder and harder to stand out. But what technology still can't replace is human trust and relationships. People still prefer to work with people they know, trust, or have at least interacted with before. So, students who actively build professional relationships gain something much more powerful than work experience. They build connections with people who will remember them. They build relationships with people who may recommend them, and they create opportunities that may lead to future job openings. A former client of mine, Sheila, had a very different internship experience than Lana, but just as successful. One time, half of her team suddenly went out sick. Sheila stepped in, took on extra responsibility, and helped keep things running. Her supervisor, Maria, noticed that and remembered her. A few years later, when Maria had become team lead in another department, she reached out to Sheila on LinkedIn and asked if she would be interested in joining her team. Like Lana, Sheila didn't receive a full-time offer right away. Instead, her success came from building connections and visibility inside her organization, creating future career opportunities for herself. The takeaway is, if you approach internships and student jobs strategically, they can absolutely become stepping stones for your long-term career. Internships and working student jobs can be incredibly valuable during your studies, but their value only comes from how intentionally you use them. So make the most of these work experiences. If you found this video helpful, share it with someone who's starting their career. And if you want more practical guidance on career entry, applications, and the German job market, subscribe to the channel and check out our playlist right here.